Part 57. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 561. This is not surprising. The resources of the entire continent are available for their cultivation. As long as the talent is good, it is not difficult to have a saint-level cultivation. But if you want to break through the saint level and reach the god level, it is not a matter of sufficient training resources. Otherwise, why are there so few people in the entire continent who have broken through to the level? At this time, the three young masters met each other. They looked at each other and thought that their competitors were one of them. They had no idea that the person who put them in such a situation was far in front of them. Cannot see. Because they knew that their every move was being watched by people outside, the three of them just looked at each other and continued fighting without saying anything. They all want to get rid of each other. In their hearts, they think that whoever rushes to the first place at this time is likely to win the final first place in the competition. The people watching outside were in a very excited mood. The first day of a competition has never been so intense, so exciting, and so unpredictable. They all felt that this time the money was not wasted. Not only did they see the small world of experience in Xuanhuan Palace, but they also understood a truth: never look down on anyone. Just like Xuanhuan, who rushed to the first place, before they only thought that he was the fiancé of the miracle doctor Xianxia. He was extremely good looking, but his reputation was not as good as that of Xianxia. Now they understand why he can become the fiancé of the miracle doctor. It is because he is capable, strong, talented, and good looking. Finally, I added one more item in my mind, which was quite arrogant. I didn't see all the unmarried women's eyes bright, and I couldn't wait for them to be the goddess of the gods. It was finally noon. At first, everyone thought that it would take a whole day of training to select the 200 people, but now there were only 4 people left, and everyone felt a little sad. Now they looked at Xuanhuan, who was still at the front. Although they felt that he was very strong and had gained the limelight during the training, but considering his cultivation level, when the two of them actually fought, he might not be able to win the ones behind him. 3 people. So it is still unknown who will be the first in the end. Just a moment after noon, the small world disc lit up again. Lu Yu and the others felt a strong sense of repulsion surrounding them. They tried their best to resist and wanted to stay inside, but they could only resist for a few breaths. They were all sent out of the small world. After the 3 people came out, they looked at each other and were obviously relieved, because they all came out together. At least it was a draw. They turned to look at the big screen regardless of their own embarrassment, wanting to see if their rankings were tied for first place. They were shocked to find that the small world was still in the process of training. An incredible light flashed across the eyes. Who is still inside? How come they don't know that there are people stronger than them in this competition? The 3 of them looked at the screen showing the small world, and saw that there was another person inside who was continuing to practice. Not only did he not come out, he didn't look as embarrassed as them. The contrast was so stark that the 3 of them were stunned. Lu Yu's eyes narrowed. Xuanhuan, it was actually him. How could it be him? He was not willing to lose to anyone. Xuanhuan. After all, the woman he fell in love with was Xuanhuan's fiancée. The other 2 people were also surprised. Although they knew about Xuanhuan, they were limited to the fact that he was from a lower continent and was the fiancé of a miracle doctor. They never thought that his fighting power was so strong. The identities of the 3 of them are not simple, and the city is also not shallow. It was just a momentary loss of composure, and the 3 of them immediately returned to their normal expressions. No matter what stage things go to, they must maintain their identity. This is what they have been taught since childhood, and they dare not forget it under any circumstances. Otherwise, there are not many people in the family who can take their place. The 3 of them were led to the seats reserved for the first 200 people. After sitting down, they all looked at Xuanhuan in the small world. Lu Yu was in an extremely low mood. He had hidden his true strength before, and even his father, the lord of the continent, did not know. He just wanted to know, in his father's heart, who could possibly replace him if he failed. Therefore, he can hide his cultivation, which makes his father think it is difficult for him to even enter the top 10. Now the goal was achieved, but he didn't expect to be forced to reveal his strength on the first day, which was very detrimental to the subsequent games. After all, no one wanted to show their cards first. He thought that his current opponents were not only the two sitting next to him, but also someone he didn't expect, Xuanhuan. He still understands young Master Chuang and young Master Bailu, but he really doesn't understand Xuanhuan. If he wants to win against Xuanhuan, he still has to think about it. I'm afraid he won't be able to win with strength alone. After everyone was eliminated, Xuanhuan didn't know that he was the only one left in the small world, but he felt the changes in the small world, as if the difficulty had suddenly increased by several levels. The person in Yunshang Palace suddenly stood up. Yan Xiangluo had been paying attention to the person in Yunshang Palace on the referee stage. Seeing him suddenly standing up, a trace of worry flashed across his almond-shaped eyes. It must be that little world has reached a level of experience that worries everyone in Yunshang Palace, that's why he loses his composure and looks so solemn. Xuanhuan has always been very relaxed before, but now he has probably reached a level of experience that truly belongs to him. Danger also ensues. Yan Xiangluo's hands unconsciously clenched into fists, and her worry was obvious. Qi Hao didn't know what Xuanhuan was about to face, and his admiration for him in his heart had reached the highest level in history. Master, Master is so amazing, Qi Hao said with admiration and pride. Yan Xiangluo was already immune to his name. Although she was worried, her tone was still relaxed. Everyone knows this. Qi Hao looked at Yan Xiangluo in surprise. Master actually admitted it so frankly. Seeing Master's teasing eyes, he immediately understood that Master was teasing him. Uncle Xixian and the others are ranked outside the top 100. Qi Hao started looking for Xixian's names when the list of 200 came out. Not all participating hidden guards entered the top 200, but Xixian, Chang Feng, and Jin Yutang all entered the top 200. Jin Yutang ranked 126th and Chang Feng ranked 126th. 130, Xixian's cultivation level is one level lower than the two of them. Although he has entered the 200th place, his ranking has already reached the 165th. Although the ranking is not ideal, it is already a miracle that he can enter the top 200 with his cultivation level. Qi Hao was most worried about Xixian. He felt that there was no hope of entering the top 100 this time. The game is so realistic and so cruel. Yan Xiangluo rubbed Qi Hao's head. They have all tried their best. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 562. Chapter 562. Do you know me? Yuan Xiangluo saw the whole process clearly. Although she had been paying attention to Xuanhuan, she did not ignore Xixian, Chang Feng, and Jin Yutang. Naturally, she knew that the three of them had tried their best. Xixian might not have been able to get into the top 200 if he hadn't been supported by the healing elixir. Even though he was injured many times, he was also injured seriously. Xuanhuan demanded that they enter the top 100. I am afraid that the main purpose is to use this opportunity to let them break through. From the changes in their auras, Yan Xiangluo knew that this goal had been achieved, and it was no longer important whether they could enter the top 100. Qi Hao sighed like a young adult. Master, am I a bit ignorant? After seeing their rankings, Qi Hao realized that he said that he would participate in the continental competition in the future and win first place. These words were not grandiose words, but overestimating his abilities. Yan Xiangluo understood Qi Hao. This child was hit by reality, but he could not lose confidence at this time. It would not be good for his cultivation. Xiaohao has such an idea, which shows that you are not ignorant of the world. You are only 10 years old now, and there are still at least 10 years before you can participate in the continental competition. You were not able to practice before, and you can only practice for a few months. Your cultivation level has surpassed those of your peers who have been practicing for many years. As long as you continue to work hard and don't slack off, it is unforeseen what level you will be in 10 years. If you don't believe me, just calculate it based on your current promotion speed. What level will your cultivation level be in 10 years? Yanxiangluo said softly. Hearing this, Qi Hao started making calculations in his heart. 10 years from now, he will be 20. Based on this calculation, he felt that his cultivation level would be several levels higher than that of Xianxia when he was 20. The continental competition is held every 3 years. He plans to participate in the continental competition when he is 20 years old, that is, when he is 22 years old, there will be a continental competition. Then he has 12 years to practice, and his cultivation will be higher. When the time comes, he will be the same age as his master, and his eyes will suddenly light up. With this calculation, it is really possible for him to become the same person as his master. Instantly, my confidence doubled. I opened my mouth to reveal a mouthful of white teeth, and said with a smile, "Master, I must become a person that makes master proud." Yanxiangluo shook her head. "That's not important. Master hopes that you will become a happy person." Qi Hao was stunned for a moment, and then he saw the loving look his master was looking at him. It was as if he saw the look his mother was looking at him. His nose was sore and tears were about to flow out. He quickly opened his eyes hard and held back the tears. Master loves him as much as his mother, and they work hard to teach him, but they don't force him to be good, they just simply hope that he can be happy. Meeting Yanxiangluo was the warmest and luckiest thing that happened to him after experiencing the tragedy of genocide. "Master, I am very happy now." Qi Hao's words came from the heart. His fate began to take a big turn after the master appeared. All the previous bad luck disappeared and it changed every day. The master saved his grandfather and accepted him as his disciple. This was the moment when his destiny completely changed. He had nothing to repay for the master's kindness to him. He could only practice hard to live up to the master's expectations. But today his master told him that he hoped he would become a happy person. He was so moved that he once again lamented his luck in meeting such an unusual master who warmed his life. Yanxiangluo smiled. "This kid is too easy to be satisfied. But as long as he does not lose his self-confidence, it is not a bad thing to be easily satisfied. On the contrary, such people are more likely to be happy." The master and apprentice continued to look at the small world screen. Zhizhong was no longer as relaxed as before, and his speed had also slowed down, but he could still cope with it. The person from Yun's Hang Palace sat down again, but his expression was still serious and his eyes were fixed on the screen. Time passed little by little. An hour later, noon had passed, and Zhizhong triggered the experience level of the small world again. This time's difficulty finally gave Zhizhong a feeling of experience. People outside could sense the change in his aura, which was completely different from before. If Zhizhong was calm yet arrogant before, then Zhizhong now is indifferent yet confident. Although Yanxiangluo had seen what Zhizhong looked like during his training in his palace space magic weapon, he also felt that he was different this time. Musixian, Changfeng, Jin Yutang, and the hidden guards were very aware of his current state, because they had often seen Zhizhong like this before. Once Zhizhong is in such a situation, it means that he has found something interesting, and this matter will definitely benefit him, especially in cultivation. Therefore, they were very excited. Could it be that the master had discovered the secret of the small world of Yun's Hang Palace? They all looked at the two people from Yun's Hang Palace, and Yanxiangluo also looked at them, just in time to see the Yunzhang Palace man who had looked at her say something to the Yunzhang Palace man sitting in the middle. Both of them looked serious, and Yan Xiangluo knew that the situation might have developed to a point where they were unable to control it. Yan Xiangluo frowned. She believed that Ji Zhong would not do anything he was not sure about, but she was still worried even if she knew it. After all, it is the first time for Ji Zhong to enter the small world of Yunzhang Palace. It is unfamiliar. There will always be emergencies. I don't know if Ji Zhong can really come out safely. Ji Zhong was very excited at this time. He finally had the same feeling that he had before when he was 10 years old. He had never told anyone about it. But that time changed his fate. It can be said that his ability to survive repeated attacks of fetal poisoning, which became more serious every time, was directly related to the opportunity he encountered when he was 10 years old. Otherwise, he would not have been able to wait for Luo to appear. Healed him. He has felt this way for more than 10 years. He did not expect to feel this way again in the small world of Yunzhang Palace. He wanted to know what he would gain if he encountered such an opportunity while he was healthy. Yan Xiangluo stared at Ji Zhong closely. At this moment, a hand appeared in front of her eyes, blocking her sight. Yan Xiangluo looked at the owner of this hand displeasedly, and was startled to see that it was someone she knew, Fang 11er. Thinking of her identity, it's not surprising to meet her here. Fang 11er was smiling and excited. Dr. Yu, do you still recognize me? Yan Xiangluo's mouth twitched. Sure enough, Fang 11er was not a normal person. Who was Ji Zhong who was paying attention to the small world and re-experienced it? Fang 11er actually saw herself among so many people and came to find her. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 563. Yan Xiangluo came back to her senses and said, of course I know her, Fang 11er, the eldest daughter of the Fang family, a well-known weapon refining family. Yuan Xiangluo didn't mention what happened to Fang 11er in Changchuan City before, let alone Fang 11er's incident with Zhang Zilu in Changchuan City. She saw that Zhang Zilu had also come to participate in the continental competition. Unfortunately, he was among the first batch of people eliminated. I don't know if there is any reason why Fang Xier is so happy. However, Fang 11er's temperament was different from when we first met her in Changchuan City. At that time, she was experiencing emotional betrayal, was at a low point in her life, and her whole person was gloomy. Nowadays, she is full of vitality and exudes the temperament and style that a daughter of a big family should have. Seeing that Yan Xiangluo still recognized her, Fang Xier smiled heartily and asked directly, does our agreement still count? Promise. Yan Xiangluo was stunned for a moment, and then she remembered that Fang 11er wanted to become a sister of the opposite with her, but she declined, and agreed to meet him next time. If she still wanted to become a sister of the opposite sex, she could consider agreeing. Without waiting for her answer, Fang 11er said again, can you refuse? She felt in her heart that Yuan Xiangluo was a well-known miracle doctor in the mainland. Although Yuan Xiangluo did not have strong family support, her own strength and talent could be her support. She became a sworn brother to her, which was a bit high. After all, apart from her family, she has nothing to show for her achievements. Yan Xiangluo was a little surprised after hearing her words, you want me to refuse? Fang 11er's face suddenly fell, of course I don't hope so. You are the first friend I impulsively want to make in my life. I feel like old friends at first sight with someone I have known for such a short time, and I want to become a sister. I never thought that this would happen before something will happen to me. Yan Xiangluo smiled. She didn't reject Fang 11er who was so frank and direct at all. She didn't have any best friends or sisters here yet. If possible, she would like to have her own friends and even sisters like normal people. But he will not blindly sworn friends with Fang 11er because of this. Do you know the restrictions of sworn worship? Xianxia asked. Sworn vows to sisters with different surnames are the same as sworn vows to brothers and sisters with different surnames. They are bound by the rules of heaven. When making sworn vows, you must make an oath. Fang 11er immediately nodded and said, "Of course I know. We must share blessings and hardships and cannot betray each other." "Does your family agree with you doing this?" Xianxia asked again. Fang 11er was stunned for a moment and then said, "My sworn relationship with you has nothing to do with the family. It doesn't matter whether they agree or not." Xianxia sighed, "It can't be indifferent. If we become sworn friends, we must abide by the oaths we made and cannot betray each other, otherwise we will be punished by heaven. Have you ever thought about it? If your family goes against me, you what to do?" Fang 11er was stunned. She really hadn't thought about this. At home, her grandfather was actually very relaxed with her and did not use any rules to restrain her. It was precisely because of this that she had the character she has today. "Will give up everything for love." When Yu Xiangloo mentioned it, she realized that she had thought simply. Chi Hao frowned as he looked at Fang 11er who was standing in front of him. This person wanted to become a sister to his master 2 or 3 times. Even so, there was no need to mention this matter now, and there was no need to block him from seeing it. Master's experienced gaze. Seeing Fang 11er frowning, Yan Xiangloo said again, "You can go back and think about it slowly. I will definitely do what I promised. But becoming sworn sisters with different surnames is not a small matter. You have a huge family behind you, and you have received the support of the family. In Hui, of course, you have to think about your family. Every decision you make will affect your relationship with your family. Family interests are very important in the eyes of you, the children of a big family. I don't want you to make decisions that you will regret later because of impulse." Fang 11er said seriously when she heard this, "I will think about this issue seriously, but it doesn't mean that my determination to sworn brothers with you is not firm enough. I just want to take this matter seriously, because I appreciate your personality, I like the way you do things, and I want to be your friend. I also hope that I can bring you help instead of trouble." Yan Xiangloo smiled and nodded, "You will know where I live as soon as you find out. When you decide and still want to be sworn friends with me, you can go find me." "Okay, it's a deal," Xianxia readily agreed. Yan Xiangloo pointed to the front, "My fiancé is inside." Fang 11er then realized that she had disturbed Yan Xiangloo's view of her fiancé in the small world, and immediately stepped aside, "I'm going back to my seat first." "Okay," Yan Xiangloo responded. Watching Fang 11er go back to her seat, Yan Xiangloo realized that they were actually sitting in the same row, but Fang 11er was sitting near the referee's table, with a dozen people separated from her. Thinking about her eye-catching red dress, it's not surprising that Fang 11er would spot her so easily. Yan Xiangloo didn't think much. She quickly looked at Ji Zhozhong in the small world, and was surprised to see Ji Zhozhong practicing cross-legged and suspended in mid-air. She just said a few words to Fang 11er, how could Ji Zhozhong change from fighting mode to practicing mode? Not only she but everyone was surprised, including the 2 people from Yun's Hang Palace. Time seemed to have frozen at this moment. Although it was not as fierce as the battle experience, everyone watching was extremely quiet. They have a new understanding of the magic of the small world of Yun's Hang Palace. I was thinking that no wonder the people in Yun's Hang Palace were promoted quickly. Their training magic weapon was so powerful that they couldn't slow down even if they wanted to. They didn't know that the 2 people in Yun's Hang Palace were also shocked at this time, because it was the first time that they discovered that there was such a change in the small world of experience. I am also completely confused. I have no idea what benefits such changes will bring to those who have experienced them, and when they will end. As long as the experience of the small world is activated, it will not end until all the people who entered it come out. During this period, even the people who activated it cannot control the small world. So they can only wait. Time passed little by little, and the sun slowly set in the sky. In the evening, Xuanhuan was still practicing in the small world. BeautifulFemaleLead discussed it with the Lord of the North Continent, and the Lord of the North Continent went to ask the two people from Yun's Hang Palace for instructions. Finally, it was decided to stop watching the game today and everyone should leave as soon as possible. As for the final result of Xuanhuan in the small world, an announcement will be made to everyone after the result is available. The second game that was supposed to continue tomorrow has been temporarily postponed. Xuanhuan, the first place in the knockout round on the first day, cannot come out, and the second game cannot be played tomorrow. Those watching didn't want to leave. After all, they hadn't seen the result. They all wanted to know what changes would happen to the small world and whether Xuanhuan would have any big opportunities. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 564. But the time to watch the game has indeed come, and we cannot keep so many people watching the game inside because of emergencies. You know, these people have been in there all day without taking a break at noon. As soon as Qihao heard that they were asked to leave, he said anxiously, "Master, what should I do?" Xianxia glanced at Xuanhuan, who was still practicing in the small world with his legs crossed. Don't worry, he encountered his own opportunity while practicing in the small world. Even if there is danger, he can handle it. Qihao's eyes suddenly lit up when he heard this. It turns out that there are personal opportunities in the small world of Yun's Hang Palace. At this moment, he is more determined to practice hard to participate in the continental competition. When the time comes, if the small training world of Yun's Hang Palace is still used in this way, he can also go into practice, and maybe he can find his own opportunity. At this time, everyone who participated in the small world regretted it, including Lu Yu. They never expected that H would actually find his own opportunity under the circumstances of Yun's Hang Palace's experience in the small world. They all thought that the small world had set rules for training and they could not resist, but Xuanhuan did it. They missed the opportunity to encounter a great opportunity, and one can imagine their regret. It is useless to regret anymore. They have already come out of the small world, and it is impossible to let them in again. At this time, in addition to regret, the only thing left in my heart is jealousy, jealousy of Xuanhuan's good luck. Little do they know that good luck is reserved for those who are prepared. Xuanhuan's success today is definitely not just because of good luck. Before doing anything, he will think about it countless times in his mind and take all possibilities into consideration. The most important thing is that he has a fearless heart. All entrances and exits on all sides are open. Everyone watching the game, please leave the venue quickly. BeautifulFemaleLead's voice was transmitted with spiritual power to ensure that everyone present could hear it. Immediately, Xianxia saw the guards in Yaoguang City running in quickly and began to help the viewers who were left behind to leave. Xianxia took Qihao's hand and walked out. Qihao knew that Master was worried that something would happen to him again because of his kidnapping yesterday, so he held his hand tightly. In fact, Master's hands are extremely slender. Although he is only 10 years old, he is a boy's hand, and his hands are not small. It feels that Master's hands are as big as his, just a little more slender, but very warm. This kind of warmth spread into his heart instantly, and his heart also felt warm. Qihao knew that besides his grandfather, there was someone who truly loved him. As Xianxia walked out, she looked at where the first 200 contestants were sitting and saw Xian looking in their direction. When he saw her looking over, he immediately made a reassuring gesture to her. Yan Xiangloo nodded, indicating that she understood what he meant. Xian was telling her to rest assured Hong. With Xian's reminder, Yan Xiangloo felt even more relieved and walked outside the competition venue with confidence. Hao also looked at where Xian and the others were, but unfortunately because of their height, everyone watching stood up and walked out, so he couldn't see anything. Yan Xiangloo saw him frequently looking in the direction of Xian and the others, and whispered, "Xian gave me a sign to reassure us." Hao was completely relieved after hearing this. The two left the competition venue and followed the flow of people to their residence. Along the way, they heard people talking about Hong. So much so that the rules of the competition were changed this year, and the news that Yun's Hang Palace came up with the small world space magic weapon was suppressed by Hong's limelight. Hao listened to everyone's discussion with his ears pricked up. When he heard the good things, he was very happy. When he heard some people were jealous and resentful, he immediately curled his lips, feeling that the grapes they couldn't eat were sour. Yan Xiangloo contacted Zetian while walking along the way. Zetian had been gone all day and had not contacted her. Has it been discovered by Qin Sui? Even if he is discovered, he will not be caught because of his ability to cover the sky. But Yan Xiangloo discovered that she could not contact Zetian. She frowned. The contract with Zetian was still there and she had no other feelings. This meant that Zetian was not in any danger. As long as the contractual relationship exists, if Jishan is in danger or injured, she will be aware of it. Then there is only one possibility, that is, Jishan is trapped. And it is an existence that can isolate contractual ties. In Yan Xiangloo's understanding, only those who are above the level and can use the barrier can isolate the connection between spiritual pets and war pets and their masters. But it also depends on the strength of the spiritual pet and the battle pet. Jishan is a divine plant. Even people with god-level cultivation cannot trap it with a barrier. Is it some kind of isolation magic weapon? She was so focused on watching the game that day, and what happened to Hong in the small world, that she forgot to send Jishan out of the city to see what trap Qin Sui had made waiting for her, so she only remembered Jishan now. But now that the city gate is closed, she can't leave the city to find Zetian. On the way, her expression remained the same, she did nothing and said nothing to Hao. When the master and apprentice arrived at the door of the mansion, they saw a housekeeper of the city lord's mansion standing at the door. When he saw Yu Xiangloo, he immediately saluted and said, "I have seen the miracle Dr. Yu. Is there something wrong, city lord?" Yan Xiangloo asked. "The steward of the city lord's mansion is waiting for me here. It must be that the city lord has something to do and it is inconvenient for him to come. He is worried about sending others to come and is worried that Yan Xiangloo will misunderstand that he is not sincere. Therefore, the steward of the city lord's mansion is the most suitable." What's more, Yan Xiangloo had met the housekeeper of the city lord's mansion before, and he was considered an acquaintance. The housekeeper nodded, "I've indeed seen something. The outside is not the place to talk," so Yan Xiangloo said, "Butler, please come inside." The housekeeper of the city lord's palace said flattered, "Sorry for disturbing you." Hao immediately opened the door of the mansion with discernment. After entering, they came to the main hall. Yan Xiangloo asked Hao to prepare tea, and then asked, "What's the matter with the city lord?" The housekeeper immediately said, "Miracle doctor, there are two people coming to Yun's Hang Palace this time. One is the demigod Changhong who controls the magic weapon of experiencing the small world space, and the other is the demigod Wei Lan who has the highest medical skills in Yun's Hang Palace. Wei Lan the demigod knows that the divine doctor is also in Yaoguang city and wants to see you. The city lord asked me to ask what the divine doctor means." Yang Xiang realized that the man from Yun's Hang Palace who looked at her on the referee's table was the demigod Wei Lan. Yan Xiangloo glanced at the respectful housekeeper of the city lord's palace and knew that it was because whether his daughter's face would be good or not depended on him. The city lord was worried about making him unhappy, so he asked the housekeeper to ask him what he wanted first. In fact, the main purpose is to tell himself that the demigod Wei Lan wants to see him, so that he can be mentally prepared, and it will be her turn to agree to the meeting. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 565. Chapter 565, Like-Minded. With Xuanhuan Palace's aloof attitude, he would not ask her opinion first, but someone would directly call her to see the demigod Wei Lan who has the best medical skills. Bai Wukan just changed the way he said it. He didn't need to think about it to know that his words would be changed into another way of saying it to Wei Lan, the demigod. After all, regardless of his medical skills or his cultivation and status, he is qualified to see him. Yang Xianglaxing's eyes narrowed. Originally, the competition would be over in 3 days, but because of Ji Zhong's opportunity in the small world, I'm afraid the next competition will have to be postponed. The most important thing is that I don't know how many days it will be postponed. No matter how many days it takes, I will never be clean when I leave Yaoguang City, so why not ask this demigod Wei Lan for the purpose of meeting him? After all, even if she refuses, if someone insists on seeing her, she can't resist. Bai Wukan has already given her a lot of face. They have handed her the ladder, so she should get down quickly. Tell the city lord that you can do it any time other than watching the game. Let the city lord arrange the time to meet. As for the location, let's set it at the place where I live. There is no other meaning. My fiancé will not let me go to other places before he goes to compete. Yan Xiangluo thought about it and said. The hidden guards hiding in the dark were stunned. When did the master say such a thing? The response was immediately understood that Xiang Xiangluo did not want to go to the people with the highest medical skills named Wei Yan's cloud on other places. The housekeeper was relieved when he heard that Yan Xiangluo had agreed, but when he heard that she actually asked the demigod Wei Lan to come to her place to meet her, his heart suddenly became aroused again. Hands on what to say to make Yan Xiangluo change her mind. Before he could think of a way, Yu Xiangluo said again, I won't make it difficult for the city lord to tell demigod Wei Lan that my cooking skills are good. At least there is no spiritual chef in Yaoguang City who can compare with his cooking skills. Come on, I will prepare a sumptuous meal to welcome demigod Wei Lan to my humble home. When the housekeeper heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. Just now, he thought that although Miracle Dr. Yu was highly skilled in medicine, he was still young and energetic and could be so disrespectful to the strong. Unexpectedly, he had already thought of a way to make the demigod Wei Lan willing to come to her place. When we meet, we won't feel like we are neglecting him. Okay, I'll go back and report to the city lord for disturbing Dr. Yun. Seeing that the matter was done, the housekeeper left immediately. Yu Xiangluo nodded. The butler of the city lord's mansion didn't drink any tea. Left immediately. Yan Xiangluo asked Qi how to send people out. There is no other way. Now there are only 2 masters and apprentices in the house, so Qi Hao can only send people off. Qi Hao came back soon, his big eyes shining with excitement. Master, are we going to meet the people from Xuanhuan Palace? Yan Xiangluo nodded. Do you admire Xuanhuan Palace? Qi Hao said, of course, Xuanhuan Palace is the place that all monks dream of. Yan Xiangluo's apricot eyes flashed. It seemed that the influence of Xuanhuan Palace was not that great, but it was understandable. Almost all the powerful people were in Xuanhuan Palace. It was normal for the monks to look up to Xuanhuan Palace. Do you admire Yunchangong or the people of Yunchangong? Yan Xiangluo asked. Qi Hao looked at Yu Xiangluo with his bright black eyes. Of course it's Xuanhuan Palace. Why aren't they the powerful ones from Xuanhuan Palace? Yan Xiangluo asked, pretending to be puzzled. Qi Hao said like a young adult, it is because of the existence of Xuanhuan Palace that there are strong people in Xuanhuan Palace. Yan Xiangluo's eyes lit up. That's right. Although the apprentice is young, his ability to distinguish is not weak. His brain is not very good. He sticks to his own heart and has his own thoughts and opinions. Xiao Hao will definitely have the opportunity to go to Yun's Hang Palace in the future, Yu Xianluo said with a smile. Chi Hao nodded seriously, I must go to Yun's Hang Palace. If my strength allows, I would like to try the road to the 9 heavens. Yan Xianluo was surprised. She didn't expect that her young apprentice actually had the same dream as her. No wonder she liked him. Being like-minded is very important. You are ambitious, but now Xiao Hao, let's go and freshen up first, and then come back to feed your belly, Yuan Xianluo said with a smile. Chi Hao felt very hungry when he heard this. The master wanted to cook for him himself, so he hurried to his yard and said, Master, I will be here soon. Seeing Chi Hao go back to his yard to wash up, Yan Xianluo immediately communicated with Yun Tuan, Yun Tuan, can you leave the city? The voice of the cloud sounded in her consciousness, yes, I can get out from under the city gate. All city walls in the higher continent have barriers. Even flying spirit beasts cannot get out of the city walls. If you want to get out, you can only go through the city gate, but once the city gate is closed, no one can get out. Yun Tuan's body is small and soft. If there is a gap, it can find a way out. I can't contact Jishan. I'm sure it's not injured. It's probably trapped. You go out of the city and go to Qilapo to have a look. Be careful. Check the situation and contact me. Without my order, you can't do anything. Do not do. Yan Xianluo was worried that Yun Tuan would see Zetian and impulsively go to save it. As a result, not only could he not rescue Zetian, but he would also hit him, which would be even more troublesome. Yun Tuan immediately said, Master, don't worry, I'll go right away. As soon as Yun Tuan finished speaking, the small figure rushed out. Yan Xianluo only saw a ray of light passing through the clouds and the figure disappeared. The clouds have gone, and Yan Xianluo walks to the kitchen. There is no point in worrying now. They didn't eat anything while watching the game all day long. She was okay. After all, her cultivation was here. She wouldn't feel hungry if she didn't eat, and it wouldn't affect anything. But the same could not be said for her little apprentice Chi Hao. His cultivation level is low and he is still growing. I originally brought him food, but because the game situation changed again and again, his attention was on the small world and he forgot about eating. Now that he returns to his residence, he must be hungry. Sure enough, before Yan Xianluo's meal was ready, Chi Hao had already come over and was waiting. He stood aside and watched her cooking. Chi Hao would not miss such a good opportunity to learn cooking skills. Someone who has the foresight to help Yan Xianluo. After the master and apprentice had dinner, Yan Xianluo asked Chi Hao to go back and rest. Chi Hao didn't take any rest after he returned. He sat cross-legged on the bed and practiced. Watching the game this day made him more deeply aware of the importance of cultivation. Because he had a clear goal, he didn't want to delay for a moment. The small figure sat cross-legged on the bed in the night, with his eyes closed and his hands on his dantian. The spiritual energy around him surged into his body. Although Yan Xianluo was sitting cross-legged and with her eyes closed, she was not practicing, but thinking about today's events. She is not worried about Jiji's Hong. After all, no one has the ability to enter the small world and do anything to him in full view of the public. She was thinking about Fang 11er who suddenly appeared in front of her. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 566. Chapter 566, Trapped in Jishan. Although Yan Xianluo admires Fang 11er very much, she will not lose her vigilance. Although Fang 11er behaved very normally, as if she was expressing her true feelings, but in such a chaotic situation in the competition venue, it was not normal no matter how she thought about it. She couldn't wait to mention that she wanted to become a sworn brother as soon as they met. It's not like what her character would do. Especially the look she gave herself when she left. Although she didn't say anything, the meaning she expressed made her have to think more. She used her mind-reading skills at that time and heard Fang 11er repeatedly saying in her heart, "Don't ever promise me." So she was sure that Fang 11er did have a problem. The problem should not be Fang 11er's fault, but other reasons. Fang Xianxia left Changchuan City and went back to the Fang family. Did something happen to the Fang family? It seems that I need to find out if anything happened to the Fang family tomorrow. Don't think about these things for now. Don't waste time on things that can't be resolved. She has always been like this. Yu Xianglou sank her consciousness into the magic weapon in the palace space. Although she can't go into practice now, she can study other functions of the palace space magic weapon. Had she not seen Yun's Hang Palace practicing the small world space magic weapon today, she would not have discovered that her palace space magic weapon had other uses. She wanted to see if it had any other effects. She was concentrating on studying the palace space magic weapon when the voice of Yun Tuan came, "Master, Zetian is indeed trapped." Yan Xianglou immediately asked, "How did you get trapped?" Yun Tuan said, "It is a magic weapon from the demon world. The demonic energy is very strong. Qin Suiyu is also trapped. In order to avoid being infiltrated by the demonic energy, Jishan sealed itself. Qin Suiyu is not in a good condition." Yan Xianglou is convinced of Yun Tuan's words. Yun Tuan is a mythical beast and knows many things. If Yun Tuan can be described as a magic weapon, it must be a treasure from the demon world, and it is not an ordinary treasure. Anger rose in Yan Xianglou's heart. Qin Suiyu was trying to destroy her. The master's body was infiltrated by demonic energy. Even his ancestors with such a high level of cultivation could only help him suppress it. If she was eroded by such a strong demonic energy, her Danshan would be destroyed. One can imagine the consequences. Qin Suiyu did touch her bottom line this time. Will Zetian be okay? Yan Xianglou is most worried about Zetian now. No, the divine plant and the divine beast have sealed themselves so that they will not be invaded by any evil things, Yun Tuan explained. Yan Xianglou felt more at ease. She also understood that it was not Zetian who trapped Qin Suiyu. Qin Suiyu would not be stupid enough to fall into her own trap. Someone should have taken action. Other than herself, the only person who knew that Qin Suiyu had taken action against her was Jizhong. She didn't say who plotted against her at the time, but Jizhong was so smart that he must have guessed it. Although he said that there would be no danger if he could not leave the city, he still arranged for someone to take action. He wanted to participate in the competition and could not take action, but he did not let go of the person who plotted against him. Yan Xianglou's heart was instantly filled with a certain emotion. He didn't say anything, but he did everything secretly. This was obviously to vent his anger. He couldn't go in person, so he arranged for someone to let Qin Suiyu reap the consequences, which coincided with his own purpose of arranging to go to Jishan. Yan Xianglou discovered that sometimes the two of them had similar ways of doing things and similar ideas. You stay there and pay attention to your own safety. If you encounter anything, please contact me immediately. Although she knew that nothing would happen to Zetian for the time being, she was not at ease and let the cloud stay there. She could know Zetian's situation anytime and anywhere. At the same time, we can also know the fate of Qin Suiyu. Knowing that Zetian was fine for the time being, Yan Xianglou continued to study the palace space magic weapon. It was not until early the next morning that she left the room and went to the kitchen to cook. Two hidden guards in the mansion appeared in her yard. Yan Xianglou had seen them before. They were the two people who participated in the continental competition yesterday. they were not among the top 200. Since they had already appeared in front of everyone, they could not do it again. Back to the hidden guard. Miss Yu, the master has given orders. Those of us who have not entered the competition on the second day should listen to Miss Yu. Yan Xianglou understood what Zhizhong meant. He was worried that he would have no one to help him during the competition and would be inconvenient in Yaoguang City. After all, her identity is different now. It happened that she also needed someone to do something, so she said politely, "Help me find out what happened to the Fang family, a well-known weapon refining family, recently. Especially, did anything happen to Fang 11er, the direct daughter of the Fang family, when she returned to the Fang family?" Yes. After the hidden guard responded, one of them went out to do something, and the other said, "There are 6 of us in total, and we are all waiting in the front yard. If you need anything, Miss Yu, just give us orders. Just call us and we will be there immediately." The hidden guard who participated in the competition has been exposed, so he can no longer be a hidden guard. From now on, he will be a public person, so he can show his face. "Well, has the time for the second round of the continental competition been announced?" Yan Xianglou asked. Yunwei said, "No, there was a notice posted outside the competition venue this morning, notifying the seat numbers purchased before that the game will be postponed for an unknown number of days." Yan Xiang understood clearly. It seemed that the opportunity Zhizhong encountered in the small world was not an ordinary opportunity, and the person in Yunshang Palace didn't know how long it would take. This means that the origin of Yunshang Palace's space magic weapon is probably not simple, at least it was not refined by the people of Yunshang Palace. The City Lord's Palace will send someone here today. You can receive them since everything has been taken care of. She is not ready to leave the palace. Yes, the hidden guard responded and exited her yard. Demigod Wei Lan is bound to come. He also has superb medical skills. He knows the value of a meal he makes. It is an excellent opportunity to understand himself. Demigod Wei Lan will not miss it. After all, what interests him is his superb medical skills. He is here on behalf of Yunshang Palace, and he will be at the game. Therefore, the postponement of the continental competition is just the right time for the two of them to meet, and he will definitely come today. Yan Xianglou wanted to think about what to cook to entertain the demigod Wei Lan. As for the situation of the meeting with demigod Wei Lan, we have to adapt accordingly. Since she decided to reveal her medical skills, she knew that sooner or later she would meet the demigod Wei Lan. After all, she was famous because of others. But the demigod Wei Lan has never taken action against her. She should not be a narrow-minded person, but people are unpredictable, and she will not let down her guard. After all, her medical skills are indeed coveted. If the other party's purpose is to use his medical skills, Chenfu Shenyan will not take action against him. This is not impossible. After all, he is a demigod, so he has no chance to use small tricks in front of him. To ensure his own safety, it depends on the attitude and purpose of the demigod Wei Lan. Zhizhong was in the small world of experience in Yunshang Palace, and she had no choice but to take action. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 567. Chapter 567 Wei Lan Demigod, 1. She sighed silently in her heart. No matter what, Zhizhong was the one who had entered her heart and became one of her weaknesses. Chi Hao came over on time to help. After breakfast, Chi Hao asked, "Master, when will the people from Yunshang Palace come?" "It should be noon." Yan Xianglou guessed that demigod Wei Lan would not waste time and it would be inconvenient to come at night. After all, there are differences between men and women, so he would come at noon. Chi Hao said with bright eyes, "Then I will help Master entertain the guests." Yu Xianglou laughed. She was sincere in helping her entertain the guests, but she also sincerely wanted to see the demigod Wei Lan. She still had to adapt to her apprentice. She nodded and said, "Okay." Chi Hao suddenly showed a big smile. Yan Xiangluo thought about the recipe for a while, then took out the required spiritual energy ingredients and taught Chi Hao how to handle them for better consumption. At 1:00 in the morning, the steward of the city lord's palace came to the door again, and the hidden guard told him that Wei Lan, the demigod, would come at noon. Yu Xiangluo asked Yunwei to tell the housekeeper to go back and tell the demigod Wei Lan that she was waiting for your visit. When it's time to lower your posture, you should lower your posture. After all, he is a powerful demigod, and he deserves respect based on his cultivation alone. She has not forgotten that this is a world where the strong are respected. The housekeeper of the city lord's mansion hesitated and asked the hidden guard to ask what Yan Xiangluo meant. City Lord Bai Wukan also wanted to come and have a meal. Is it convenient? Yan Xiangluo was not disgusted with Bai Wukan. She knew that his main purpose of coming was to make money and asked him what to do with his daughter's face. After all, the continental competition normally only lasts 3 days, but now I don't know how many days it will take. Ask the hidden guard to tell the housekeeper that she has no objection as long as the demigod Wei Lan agrees. This is what the housekeeper wanted to hear. The city lord naturally knew that whether he could come to have a meal was mainly based on the wishes of the demigod Wei Lan, but Yan Xiangluo and the others did not dare to offend, so they came to ask for her opinion first. As for whether demigod Wei Lan agrees with the city lord to follow him, that is the city lord's business. He can just take care of his subordinates' affairs. Chi Hao looked at his master with admiration. How did the master know that the demigod Wei Lan must be coming at noon? As soon as he thought of it, he asked, and Yan Xiangluo patiently told him what he thought. She believes that since she is Chi Hao's master, she should not only teach him alchemy, medical skills, and cultivation, but the most important thing is to teach him how to behave and have a correct worldview, so that he can have a correct and positive way of thinking. To face all the things in the world he will encounter in the future. She taught Chi Hao using some of the educational methods she knew from her 13 years of living in another world. You cannot teach him a skill, but make him a person who cannot distinguish between right and wrong. Chi Hao listened carefully to his master's teachings. His family had hired masters before. There were masters who guided the children's cultivation and there were also masters who taught literacy, but no master could teach him so comprehensively. Even his parents and grandfather are not as careful as his master, and their teachings are not as comprehensive as his master's. What he didn't know was that his parents had never experienced so many ups and downs in life before. Yan Xiangluo has different life experiences. It is not easy to live in both worlds, so she thinks a lot. Different environments and different ideas naturally lead to different ways of teaching children. This is a comprehensive training for Yan Xiangluo. After preparing the ingredients to entertain the demigod Wei Lan, Yan Xiangluo tested Chi Hao's knowledge of herbs. It was only after this assessment that Chi Hao had memorized all the medicinal herbs in the first half of Shi Baiko, and their efficacy and properties were all accurate. The first half of Shi Baiko is about refining some simple and commonly used medicinal herbs. If Chi Hao is familiar with them, he can be taught how to refine elementary elixirs. Yan Xiangluo took out fresh medicinal herbs for him to identify. Although Chi Hao had seen many of them for the first time, he could accurately name the medicinal herbs through the descriptions he had written down. An hour later, Yan Xiangluo said happily, "Xiao Hao can refine the primary elixir." Chi Hao said in surprise, "Great, I'm finally going to become an alchemist." As long as you can refine elementary elixirs, you will be an elementary alchemist. The dream you never dared to think about before will come true. Can Chi Hao not be excited? Yan Xiangluo reminded him, the journey of alchemy is not easy. The process of alchemy is boring and long. You need to have perseverance to persevere. Although alchemy relies on talent, for example, Her alchemy talent is not comparable to that of ordinary alchemists, but she also knows that there will never be another alchemist like her. After all, she now knows that she should have a reason for her previous life. But Chi Hao was not an alchemist in his last life, so he was literally starting from scratch, and his progress would not be as fast as his own. Many alchemists have given up making progress after being unable to make progress for many years and just enjoy the current results. This is also doomed that their achievements in this life will stop here. She hopes that Chi Hao will never lose his enterprising spirit. Learning itself is endless, and she has always had this idea. Master, don't worry, I won't slack off. I will devote my whole life to practicing medicine. Chi Hao understood that Master was reminding him not to give up halfway. He really likes alchemy and medical skills, and he will never give up. Yan Xiangloo looked at the time and saw that the demigod Wei Lan was coming, so she took Chi Hao to the front yard to wait. She has never seen anyone with a god-level cultivation level. She has not even personally received the male lord of the continent, but the actual situation is different. The lord of the southern continent is seeking medical treatment, so he naturally has to lower his stature. Not only is the demigod Wei Lan higher in cultivation than the lord of the southern continent, he is not here to seek medical treatment, so Yu Xiangloo naturally has to treat him with courtesy. As soon as noon arrived, the demigod Wei Lan came to the door on time, and Yu Xiangloo took Chi Hao out to greet him. The main door of the mansion opened, and Yan Xiangloo saw the demigod Wei Lan standing outside the door. There was no one accompanying him, only the steward of the city lord's mansion led the way. Yu Xiangloo raised her eyebrows. It seemed that the demigod Wei Lan did not agree with Bai Wukan coming to share the meal. Yu Xiangloo saluted and said, Yu Xiangloo is waiting for the arrival of the demigod Wei Lan. Chi Hao followed suit and bowed. The master and apprentice looked like siblings. Wei Lan half-consciously looked at Yu Xiang, who was in a fluttering red dress, and then glanced at Chi Hao. His expression was as usual, showing no emotion. Yan Xiangloo said secretly, is this the state of mind of a powerful demigod? It is so peaceful. She felt that there was something about the demigod Wei Lan that was similar to hers. Maybe it was because they were both alchemists, but Yan Xiangloo didn't care about this feeling. Demigod Wei Lan nodded, and Yan Xiangloo immediately made a gesture of invitation, Demigod Wei Lan, please come in. Wei Lan, the demigod, put his hands behind his hands and walked inside. Yan Xiangloo immediately sent a message to the housekeeper of the city lord's mansion, let the city lord rest assured that her daughter's face will not continue to deteriorate. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 568. The housekeeper of the city lord's mansion felt relieved when he heard this, and he admired Yan Xiangloo in his heart. He was so smart at such a young age that he knew what the city lord meant without him having to say anything. The tone became more respectful, thank you so much, Dr. Yu, and I'll take my leave. Yan Xiangloo nodded and accompanied Wei Lan demigod to the mansion, while the housekeeper of the city lord's mansion hurried back to the city lord's mansion. Chi Hao followed Yan Xiangloo obediently, one step behind her. The rules were very good. Apparently the tutoring and rules in his family were extremely strict in the past. All the way to the main hall in the front yard, Yan Xiangloo asked the demigod Wei Lan to sit on the upper seat. She sat below him, and Chi Hao stood behind her. The hidden guard, now the clear guard, immediately brought tea. Demigod Wei Lan knew from the breath alone that the aura of this tea was extremely rich and could not be grown in ordinary places. When he learned that Yan Xiangloo had cured the son of the city lord of Xiangyang City, he checked all the information about her and found out that she came to the high continent from the lower continent this year. He has not seen geniuses from lower continents before, but this is the first time he has seen someone as wealthy as her. Just like the tea at the moment, this tea has no lower concentration of spiritual energy than the spiritual tea grown in their Yun's Hang Palace. This is not something that a person from a lower class continent who has just arrived can have it. Not even the big families of high-level families have it, let alone just serve it out to entertain guests. Obviously, there should be a lot of tea. This shows that they should also be extremely high-status people in the lower continents. Demigod Wei Lan took a sip of tea and tasted it carefully, confirming that this tea was definitely not the finest spiritual tea from the higher continent. With his identity and status, the forces from various continents who asked him to heal are all over the higher continent. He can be said to have drank all the spiritual tea from the higher continent. Therefore, one sip will tell whether this tea is the tea from the higher continent. Even if it was tea from the high-end continent, he would know it was from that tea after just one sip. Did you bring this tea from your hometown? Demigod Wei Lan was curious as to which lower continent could grow tea with such strong aura. If the spiritual energy is so strong, how can it be so difficult to break through the clan level? He thought for a while, and it seemed that Yanxiangluo came from a lower continent called Tianqian continent. Before her, he had never even heard of this continent. It can be seen that this continent is not a continent worthy of attention among lower continents. The materials will not be very rich, and the spiritual energy will not be very rich. Yanxiangluo nodded, yes. This tea came from her Pangu space. It was not grown by herself, but grew wild in the mountains opposite where she lived. It was also when she was checking the space that she accidentally discovered that there was such a large area of tea garden trees. She picked some, cooked it in her own way and found it tasted good, so she made a lot of it and gave a lot to Jija Kong. She didn't know whether Jija Hong gave the tea to the hidden guards, or whether the tea brought out by the hidden guards was prepared by Jija Hong before he went to participate in the continental competition. Demigod Wei Lan frowned. Is there a place in the lower continent with such a strong aura? Can tea with such a high aura content be grown? He instinctively felt that the lower continents could not all be places with such strong spiritual energy, that is, there was a certain place where the spiritual energy was particularly strong for some reasons. Yanxiangluo did not hesitate to let Wanghai Forest take the blame. There is a special place in the lower continent. It is between the higher continent and the great lower continent. The people living there are all members of the families who made mistakes and were punished in the higher continent. This place in our continent is called Wanghai the Forest. The spiritual energy in the forest is particularly rich, and the spiritual energy grown in the forest is also very rich, so practicing in it is also more effective. After hearing Yanxiangluo's explanation, Wei Lan was half conscious. He naturally knows that there are such existences in every lower continent. Even if those families who have made mistakes are demoted to the lower continent, they will not be confused with the lower class people. Their status is still higher than theirs, and there is another purpose of doing this, which is to not let them return to the higher continent. That's why there is such an existence. The aura of such a place is indeed richer than that of other places on the lower continent, but much less rich than the aura of the higher continent. However, it is not ruled out that there are some spirit-gathering treasures that can make the aura more intense. In this way, the origin of this spiritual tea makes sense. The master who taught you medical skills is also from a lower continent, Demigod Wei Lan asked. Yanxiangluo said bluntly, I learned medical skills by myself, I don't have a master. Wei Lan was stunned for a moment. How is that possible? Yanxiangluo said bluntly, it cannot be said that there is no master, but I have never met the master, and I don't know if I will have the opportunity to meet him. Wei Lan was stunned for a moment. How could he learn medical skills if he had never met his master? Yanxiangluo continued, when I was very young, I encountered an opportunity to receive a medical skill inheritance. I like medicine and alchemy very much. In my spare time, I would like to study this medical skill inheritance. It contains both medical skills and alchemy skills. Maybe there is some talent in this, and I have learned a lot over the years. Yanxiangluo's words were not modest at all. At this time, Demigod Wei Lan didn't care whether she was modest or not, but was shocked that her superb medical skills were actually self-taught. Even if one has received the inheritance of medical skills from a powerful person, it is not something that ordinary people can do by themselves. You must know that medical skills and alchemy skills are different from the inheritance of cultivation techniques. To inherit the skills, you only need to practice according to them. However, if there is no one to guide you in medical skills and alchemy skills, it will be difficult to take every step. It is not easy to practice the step. No one wants to be treated by a person who has taught himself medicine. If this is true, then who is he who was given the title of genius since he was a child? Seeing his obviously disbelieving look, Xianxia continued, "Many people heard that I learned medical skills by myself, and they didn't believe it like the demigod Wei Lan, but this is the fact." Wei Lan half-god came back to his senses. "Did you accept the inheritance of that powerful medical skill? Whether it is a higher continent or a lower continent, the inheritance of skills is not restricted by the continent. The people from their higher continent have always considered themselves superior and looked down on the people from the lower continent. But he would never look down on someone just because they were born on a lower continent. After all, those who can come from the lower continent to the higher continent are not ordinary geniuses. He has seen many geniuses from the lower continent. If Xianxia really had the chance to receive the inheritance of medical skills from someone powerful, it would not be impossible for her to have the superb medical skills she has now. But will she say it? If it were him, he probably wouldn't tell others, so although demigod Wei Lan asked, he didn't really hope that Xianxia would tell the truth. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 569. Shuyulu. Xianxia thought about it and chose not to hide it. After all, if she goes to the Divine Doctor Mountain to pay homage to Sima Qingyun, the master of calligraphy and painting, the whole continent will know about it and cannot hide it. Wei Yan's semi-conscious eyes suddenly shrank. He did not expect that Xianxia would tell the truth, let alone that she would actually receive the medical skills inherited from Sima Qingyun, the master of calligraphy. That is the most famous and powerful medical master with the most superb medical skills in the higher continent. He was also the holder of the title of Miracle Doctor. When the world called Xianxia a miracle doctor, he still felt that she deserved it. Now it seems that her master is a miracle doctor. Coupled with the medical skills she has displayed, the crown of miracle doctor on her head is worthy of the name. Now Shanai Mountain is named after Master Shi. The Shuyulu, which is beyond the reach of all alchemists, has actually been passed down to Xianxia in the lower continent through inheritance. How strong is her medical talent? Wei Lan looked at Xianxia with complicated eyes. Do you know the deeds of Master Shi? Xianxia said truthfully, I didn't know it before, but I only found out in the past few days. After the continental competition is over, I will go to the Divine Doctor Mountain to worship Master Shi. Wei Yan's demigod gaze paused and he remembered the words Master Shi left before he disappeared into nothingness. Is Master Shi really so powerful that he can predict when the descendants who will accept his inheritance will appear? Don't mention this to anyone again, if you still want to grow up. Wei Lan looked at Xianxia with complicated eyes and reminded her. Thinking that she was going to pay homage to Master Shi, she might not be able to keep the secret for a long time. Ruan Xianxia smiled, and her peerless face became even more dazzling. I told the truth because I admired demigod Wei Lan. My medical skills are due to good opportunities. Demigod Wei Yan's medical skills are I learned it through my own efforts. Wei Lan half-heartedly laughed, no need to put a high hat on me, I'm not a good person either. Xianxia said calmly, I'm not a good person either. In my eyes, there are no absolutely good people or absolutely bad people in this world. Wei Yan's half-conscious eyes lit up, and he applauded in his heart, thinking to himself, no wonder she has achieved such success at such a young age, her character is not comparable to that of her peers. Demigod Wei Lan doesn't have to worry about my safety since I dare to expose my medical skills, I have the ability to protect myself. With this sentence, Yan Xiangluo is telling Demigod Wei Lan that I treat you with such respect because I respect the strong, not because I am afraid of you. Wei Lan, the demigod, thought of the calm and arrogant Jija Kong in the small world, and then looked at the equally calm and composed Yan Xiangluo in front of him, and sighed in his heart, no wonder they became a couple, not only because they have the same talent in cultivation, but also because they have the same temperament. Is lunch ready? Demigod Wei Lan suddenly changed the subject and asked. Yan Xiangluo's apricot eyes suddenly widened. She really didn't expect that the demigod Wei Lan would talk about medical skills so directly. Why did he suddenly turn to eating? The ingredients are all ready, they have to be cooked fresh to taste. Although Yan Xiangluo was speechless, she replied happily. Having agreed to make a table of food to entertain him, it was natural to do so. Where do you do it? Can I watch you do it? Wei Lan asked again. Of course. Yan Xiangluo blinked, understanding that he wanted to test his fire control ability by cooking. Wei Lan demigod stood up and said, then let's do it now. Yan Xiangluo also stood up quickly, thinking to herself, is this demigod Wei Lan still impatient? Demigod Wei Lan, please come this way. Yan Xiangluo directly invited him to the courtyard where she lived. There is a small kitchen here. She has been cooking here these days, and she doesn't want to clean up the kitchen in the house because of Wei Lan. The three of them walked towards the backyard, and Yan Xiangluo motioned to Mingwei to follow. Demigod Wei Lan is a foreigner after all. Although Qi Hao is here, he is still a child, so it is better to have Mingwei around. Wei Lan half-consciously saw that he was going to the backyard. He didn't want to go at first, but when he saw Qi Hao and the man waiting outside the door came with him, he had no worries. Rather than inviting people to sit in the house, Yan Xiangluo asked Mingwei to move the tables and chairs out and put them in a cool place under the tree. Then he went to the kitchen, and Wei Lan followed him and stood aside, watching Yan Xiangluo cooking. Qi Hao helped her skillfully. Wei Lan couldn't help but look at Qi Hao half-consciously. This guy is pretty good. It's not his first time. He has good eyesight. Yan Xiangluo first took out the packed ingredients and packed them in special cold jade boxes to prevent the spiritual energy from leaking. Wei Lan looked at the row of 10 cold jade boxes, his eyes flashed, this girl is not ordinary rich. How did he know that these cold jade boxes were refined for her by Jiji's Hong, and they were more effective in preserving spiritual energy? Yan Xiangluo raised a slender and white hand and dropped a flame into the stove. She opened a food box, took out the ingredients and started cooking. Wei Lan half-god glanced at the ingredients packed inside. They were indeed spiritual energy ingredients, and the spiritual energy was maintained very well. Then he felt the flames in the stove, which were the flames of her fire power. They were no different from those of a spiritual cook. He even wanted to know if Yan Xiangluo was bragging and deceiving him. Her cooking skills were not that high. It's not that Yan Xiangluo evaded the fact that he didn't use the flames of fire beads, but she now uses the flames of her own fire power when cooking. It's just right and easier to control the heat. After all, cooking is different from making alchemy, and it doesn't need to be too strong a flame. Even using firewood, she can cook meals rich in spiritual energy. Wei Yan's half-concentrated gaze fell on Yan Xiangluo's cooking movements. He even carefully sensed the seasonings she put in, but didn't notice any difference. If there is any difference, it is that she is more comfortable cooking, takes less time, and is as proficient as cooking is her profession. She finished the 10 dishes in less than half an hour. Each dish was taken out from the food box and put back into the food box for storage after it was ready. After everything was done, She carried all the food boxes to the table under the tree, then opened the food boxes and took them out to place them. He then said to Demigod Wei Lan, please. Wei Lan glanced at her half-consciously. He had seen the whole process of cooking. He really didn't find anything special, but the taste of the food was so beautiful and tempting that it made him, who had not eaten for many years, everyone is hungry. By observing her ability to control fire while cooking, Demigod Wei Lan determined that her ability to control fire while making alchemy should be better than his. Demigod Wei Lan sat down on the chair, while Yan Xiangluo, Qi Hao, and Ming Gui stood aside. Qi Hao was drooling a little. Although he had eaten all these meals before, he was even more greedy because he knew how delicious they were. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 570. Chapter 570 I have something to say. The same goes for Mingwei. Although he has never eaten the food cooked by Yan Xiangluo, he smells it often and has been ravenous for a long time. Now that he is so close to these meals, he is even more ravenous. Just as a hidden guard, he has been trained to be highly resistant to any temptation, but he also secretly swallows saliva. Wei Lan, the demigod, picked up the chopsticks and took a piece of the dish closest to him. After taking a bite, his eyes suddenly lit up. The dish smelled fragrant and tasted even more delicious. He simply couldn't stop eating it. Eating one bite after another, he was full in a moment, but he only ate 1/3 of the 10 dishes, and he even didn't eat a single bite of some dishes that were far away. He then looked at the 2 masters and apprentices standing aside and the guards who had been accompanying them. Yan Xiangluo's expression was calm and her eyes were clear. Her young apprentice and the guards looked calm on their faces, but they had to ignore their secret swallowing of saliva. This is obviously because he is greedy for these meals. Demigod Wei Lan is a little embarrassed. He has become accustomed to being superior since he broke through to the level. Even if he is not a proud person, he has been treated as a super VIP wherever he goes to treat people for such a long time. The master of any continent is not qualified to be on an equal footing with him, so he has unknowingly developed the habit of doing everything on the habit. In addition, his status in Yun's Hang Palace is not low, and he is respected everywhere in the palace. Moreover, he couldn't even remember how long it had been since he had a serious meal, so he didn't feel anything wrong at all sitting here eating. At this time, seeing the 3 little kids in front of me who were not even a fraction of his age together, I suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He coughed lightly and said, "Your cooking skills are indeed good." Yan Xiangluo said without any humility, "That's right, I never talk big words. The implication is that you are not here in vain." Only then did Demigod Wei Lan realize that Yan Xiangluo was indeed a person who would say whatever he wanted. From the moment they met until now, no matter what she asked, she told her truthfully, including the fact that she accepted the inheritance of Shiyi Master Sima Qingyun, and even praised her cooking skills. She also admitted without hesitation that her cooking skills were indeed good. Is good. For such a person, some people may say that she is not modest, but from his position, Yan Xiangluo has the potential and demeanor of a strong person. Not to mention that her level of cultivation is not enough in his eyes. Even the masters of the higher continents have junior god level cultivations, so they can only stay humble in front of his demigod level. However, Yan Xiangluo could get along calmly in front of him without feeling inferior at all, as if they were equals. Such a state of mind and courage can only be possessed by the strong. Wei Lan pointed at the dishes he hadn't eaten. "It's a pity to waste a meal with such rich spiritual energy. I didn't eat a bite of those dishes, so take them out and give them to people who don't dislike them." For once, he was extremely humble and actually used the word "don't dislike it." Yan Xiangluo didn't feel dissatisfied with Wei Yan's words. If the food she cooked was taken out, even if it was left over, it would definitely be snapped up by people. She said to Mingwei, "Take it down and deal with it." The three of them have been looking at these dishes, and demigod Wei Lan has indeed not eaten a single bite. If they don't like it, just throw it away. If they don't like it, they can eat it. After all, ingredients with such rich spiritual energy can never be found in the higher continents. Yes, this is a product from her Pangu space. She relies on the presence of Pangu space, so there is no shortage of these spiritual energy ingredients. However, if she wants to buy them outside, it doesn't matter whether they can be purchased. Even if they can be purchased, they are still worth a lot of money. Mingwei was very excited when he heard this. He could finally eat the food cooked by the girl. His dream came true. The regret of being eliminated in the first round suddenly disappeared. If they hadn't been eliminated in the first round, they wouldn't have been able to become Mingwei, let alone wait around Yan Xianglou, and how would they have had the chance to eat the food she cooked? He immediately stepped forward, put the few dishes into the food box, and took them down. He also wanted to stay by Yan Xianglou's side, so he first set aside some for himself and put them in a food box for himself, and kept the rest for himself. Give it to your brothers to try. If he gave them all, he would definitely not be able to eat a single bite. It was not that the brothers did not miss him, but that they could not withstand the temptation. Chi Hao saw that the guards had taken away all the food. He stepped forward to clean the table and brought tea. He did not feel dissatisfied at all that he had not eaten the spiritual food. Wei Lan demigod is even more satisfied with Chi Hao. No wonder he made this little girl take on a disciple when he was just a teenager. She has good talent and a good heart. She is indeed a good seedling. Wei Lan, the demigod, pointed to the seat opposite him and said to Yan Xianglou, "Sit down and talk." Yan Xianglou was not polite and sat down directly opposite the demigod Wei Lan. This was the first time she had respected a stranger so much since she came to the higher continent. Demigod Wei Lan was a little satisfied with Yan Xianglou's unpretentious behavior. As soon as he raised his hand, Mingwei and Chi Hao, who had just returned, were blocked from listening. Both of them looked at Yan Xianglou. Yan Xianglou glanced at them and told them to just wait quietly. He is a demigod, so you can still resist. After receiving Yan Xianglou's signal, the two of them stood behind her calmly without any dissatisfaction. Wei Lan half-heartedly smiled, "You are a good person." Yan Xianglou raised her eyebrows. This guard was not one of hers, but he said on his face, "Birds of a feather flock together, and people flock together." One sentence explains, because the master is the same kind of person, the subordinates are the same kind of people, and the master is the same kind of person, the disciples she teaches are also the same kind of people. Ji Kong is a very rigorous person, and the hidden guards and clear guards she trains are not simple, whether they are Musixian and the others she often sees or the hidden guards who are in the dark. Wei Lan half-god smiled and said, "You are the most special young man I have ever seen." There is no other meaning in using special to describe Yan Xianglou, just because she is indeed different from her peers, both in the way she handles things and in her cultivation. As for calling her a young man, it's because she is only 16 years old. Even describing her as a child is not an exaggeration. However, when seeing Chi Hao and Wei Lan, the word child was changed to young man. Strength, no matter how young she is still a master. "Does demigod Wei Lan have anything to say to me?" Yan Xianglou asked bluntly. They both blocked the hearing of Chi Hao and Mingwei, obviously not wanting them to hear the next words. Wei Lan looked at her and said, "I do have something to tell you." "Demigod Wei Lan, please speak," Yan Xianglou said in a calm tone. End of this chapter.